Hello, this is Dar with Helia Technology Report, and we are going to have a look at configuring the Ubiquiti Rocket M5. So the first thing you want to do is head on to the Ubiquiti website and download the Ubiquiti discovery tool here. So you can see a Google search, here it is, and then once you do that and it's loaded up, this is what it looks like. So what it's telling me here is on my network I've got two devices. I've got a Rocket M5, and it's on the default Ubiquiti IP address of 192.168.1.20. And what's handy is my network is configured for the still same IP range, so I can directly connect to that. I've also got a tough switch, which we're not going to look at right now. So if I go over and I type in 192.168.1.20, I get to the login page. The default username and password is always UBNT and UBNT for Ubiquiti devices. Now I'm going to select Canada here. This sets the available frequencies that are legal within the country. So these are going to be the frequencies available on my Ubiquiti that Canada allows, and that's of course the country that I'm in, well, most of the time. So we're going to log in here and have a look at the screens, make some of the changes. Now we're setting this up as a hub and spoke model, which what that means is we're using a single rocket with an Omni antenna and then using nano beams that connect buildings to the same common network. So we're on the system tab right now. From here, there's not a lot. We need to change the device name. I'm going to change it to hub because we are using a hub and spoke model, and this is going to be the hub. So I'm going to change it to that. I'm also going to go to my change my time zone. Now my time zone is used for reporting, so that when I look at the reports, the dates that are showing up are accurate. So I'm going to change that. But I'm not going to apply it yet because that requires the device to reboot, and then it's going to slow us down. So ping watchdog, I usually have that selected, and then we would put in the IP address of, usually I put in the router IP address. And so we'll come back to that in a minute and describe that more. We're going to have to change the IP address of the this rocket first. So this is where we change the IP address of the rocket. Because all devices from Ubiquiti start out with this IP address, we need to change this, because if we add any more devices, it's going to conflict with this address. I'm going to use a completely different IP range for setting up, and I'm going to give this rocket an IP address of 10.50.100. Now from that you say, well, you know, what are these other values that I need to fill in? And this is where things get a little bit complicated, because you have to get these right. Now I'm setting up a brand new network for this. If I was setting up, if this was going on an existing network, you would choose your existing values. So I'm going to take this IP address here to figure out what the net mask and the gateway IP should be. So I'm going to go over, this is just a IP calculator I found on Google. And I typed in the IP address of the rocket that I'm assigning to it. I'm using a slightly different subnet mask here as well. This is the subnet mask that we typically use on colonies, 255.255.252.0. And what this means is, instead of our network being limited to 256 devices, we're up to 1,024 devices. Well, strictly speaking, 1,022 devices. And so what we can see here is the usable IP range is 10.50.48.1 all the way to 10.50.51.254. So it's common to put the router on the first IP address for your network to get up to the internet. So that would be this here. We're going to copy that. And then our subnet mask for this network is going to be this from now on. So I'm going to go back in here. This becomes 255.255.252.0, and then my gateway address here. And then in the following videos, we'll use this same setup. Now, generally speaking, my DNS is going to exist on my router. And it's going to allow me to forward DHCP or DNS requests, so I'm going to leave that as my router IP, and then we're going to change that. Now that we've assigned that address, really we can go back to services. We can configure this ping watchdog. So we would be going 10.50.48.1, and we got that again from looking at our IP calculator, and there is 10.50.48.1. And then it says every 300 seconds, which is every 5 minutes, if it fails 3 times, it's going to reboot the rocket, and that's good. If you have any problems, the most common problem is if a rocket becomes unresponsive, and this is going to make sure that the rocket reboots and hopefully fixes itself. So this is good to set up. I actually don't have a router at that address, so I'm not going to enable this right now, but it's a good practice to do that. Okay, so we've saved that. Our wireless is the next very important piece. By default, it's in station mode. We need to have one access point on our wireless network. Everything else is in station mode. So we're going to call our SSID colony network. And I'm going to pause this very quickly. Okay, so access point mode. Colony Network, Canada. Now we're going to change our channel width to 20. A channel width of 40 is going to give you faster speeds, but less consistent speeds. At 20 megahertz, they're going to be slower, but you're going to have a lot more stable network. And as you go down, it's a trade-off between the two. So we're going to go 20. I'm going to choose a frequency for my access point. This is good practice as well. Normally what we would do is we would go and look at the spectrum analyzer, which is available up here, and make sure that we choose a frequency that's not going to that's not conflicting or not being used by other antenna systems in the area. But in my particular area, there's practically none out there, so I'm going to choose 5770. And then we need to choose security. So I'm going to type in my password, and that's the password that all other antennas are going to need to use to connect to this access point. Okay, and that's really all there is to it. Setting this up, I'm going to press apply. And this is going to take a minute to reboot, so I'm going to pause again. Okay, so we've rebooted. It's taken us back to the main login screen, and I've changed the password on this, so I've got to type in the new password. Username is still UBNT unless you've changed that as well. You know, and I don't think I've changed the password. It seems to be still the preset one. So let's go in there and change that as well. The way we do that is go to the System tab, System Accounts. We're going to click on this, current password, UBNT, and then my new one. And then same thing, we choose new password verification. And then of course I'm going to have to hit apply. Now if I have a look at my main screen right now for status, you can see there's no connections, and so now we're going to connect a Ubiquiti NanoBeam M5 unit as a spoke, and then normally we'd put one of those nanobeams on each one of the buildings. To find out more about this product, you can have a look on our web store at www.buyphonesonline.ca or our blog at www.businessphonescalgary.com.